If you've been thinking about creating your own application and you just don't know where to get started, this is the video for you. We're going to go through all the steps to get started with FlutterFlow. And if you want a guide to go through all of these things, we have the beginner guide down below or a free resource guide so you can pick the right tech for your idea. So let's get started. First of all, make sure that you start by clicking the button Start for Free and create your own account. Once you're in FlutterFlow, this is the home screen that you're going to be seeing, your dashboard, where you're going to be able to create your first application. On the right-hand side, you're going to be seeing Create New, and this will allow you to get started by creating an application that is blank or using one of their templates. For right now, we're just going to go with the blank one. I'm going to say Create Blank, and I'm going to name it. I'm going to say New App 2025 and say Create. From there, we're going to be getting a few onboarding slides to get us started. I'm going to click Next. It's going to ask me, do I want to learn more? I'm just going to say Start Building. And now we are taken to the editor right here. This allows us to start building our application. Now we're going to go from left to right to understand what we're seeing on the screen if it's too overwhelming. And there's a lot to it. So let's begin first on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, we'll see a Build and a Connect section. The Build section will allow us to be building the application visually. If we click the icon where it's the Widget Palette, this will allow us to have elements to build onto the page. For example, if I have a column element, I can take the column element, drag it over here, and now I have it right here on the canvas. From there, then I can add maybe a row, and then we have something that we're building right here. So this allows us to add different elements very quickly onto the canvas. Now, the next part is from the widgets. Now we have the widget tree. Now, this allows us to understand how the page is constructed. So similar to like scaffolding a building, this is going to allow us to understand how the page is built. So right here we see that it's the home page right here, but then we see a column. Then we see a column, another one, and then we see a row. So now when we're building or adding different elements to this, different widgets, this will allow us to see how it's built. Another section, if we go back to the widgets right here, if we want to add text, I can now put that into this section right here. It says Hello World, and now I can see that right there. Now, we'll talk about this in a second, but you see now that it's visible right here. That's in the middle of the screen. I can zoom in a little bit more so I can see more of the application. But on the right-hand side of the screen, now I can change certain things. So instead of Hello World, I can just say like, I like pie, right? So now what I'm writing now can impact on what I see on the screen. Then I can change different things. I see the text here. If I want to change also what it looks like or where it's aligned, I can change the fonts here. I can scroll down. I can make the fonts bigger. I can change how the text is going to be, right? I can do text align, those kind of things, and so on and so forth. So that's the basic. We start from the left and then it goes to the right side. And we'll get more detailed into what we can do on the canvas in a little bit, but that just gives you the breakdown. Now, once we go from the widget tree, now we also have the storyboard. Just imagine the storyboard as an outline of all the different pages or how you're going to navigate your application. So the more pages we create, the more we're going to be able to see on the storyboard, right? So we have that. So this is the build section. This is visually what we're going to be seeing on the canvas, what we're seeing on the application. And then when we go to the connect section, this will allow us to make our application smart. It will allow us to connect the information. So if we're going to be using Firebase, if we're using Xano, Superbase, whatever it is, we can connect the backend to make it smart for the application. So depending on what you're using, if you want to use Firebase, if you want to use Superbase, this is where you're going to connect it. And you can see right here, first we have Firebase right here. We can say add a collection, and that's just how we're going to structure the data. And we'll get back to that in a little bit. But this is the backend where we're going to see all the different collections, how we're going to structure the data. Along with that, we have the data schema. We'll go into that in a little bit. We have the app state. So set up your elements that you want to stored in your local device. So this is going to be a little bit more advanced, but you can do a lot of different things based on what's happening in the application. That's a simple way to put it, but there's more to it in a little bit. And we might go into that in an advanced video. The next one, we have the API calls. Depending on how you're structuring or what kind of data you're bringing in, this will allow you to call different information. So APIs, when two systems are talking to each other, you can set up how you're structuring that and how you're grabbing that information. Next, we have the media assets. So what kind of assets are we going to have? Different pictures that we're bringing in, all those things for the application. If we're doing custom coding, and this is really interesting and one of the highlights of a platform like FlutterFlow, if you want to call it no code, low code, it doesn't really matter. If you're working with a team where you're doing custom coding to do a very specific function in your application, you have a section that you can do this very easily here. So if you're a dev and you're going to already you're familiar with Flutter or you're outsourcing this, that team can come in and start working here as well. Next up, we have cloud functions, depending on what functionality we need to add to this project. We have testing, so we can see what's working, what's not working here, and we can be very specific on how you're developing that testing process. Also, we have the theme settings, so how are we changing the app holistically, globally? What are we doing with the application? We can look at the different colors that we're having here, typography and icons, design system, and theme widgets as well. So this allows you to really have more control of the application, what it looks like. Next, we have settings and integrations. This will really set you up for success if we're going to have it getting ready for if we're going to submit it to the App Store. So we can see app details here, display names, what we're doing with download settings, the initial page, so the onboarding, what it will be like as you're progressing through the application, the routing and deep linking, display settings. We can also have app assets. So this goes into the initial splash page. So what will they see when they first access your application? What will happen? Then we have the nav bar and app bar as well. Depending on your type of application, you might want it to have a very specific setting or just have it very custom. You can be doing that here. And then walkthrough, guide your users by creating app walkthroughs. I love this. Just so many different options to really help your users and really help with the onboarding. Then we have project setups. We have collaboration. What are you going to do if you're going to be adding other people to your team? Also, we have Firebase. So you're going to let us create a project for you. So we can look at having a more concise way to connect Firebase to your account, or you could do it the more manual way as well. And in our guide, we walk you through all of these things, but this will help you get started with Firebase quicker and to have a backend quicker. Next, we have languages. We talk about the different platforms that it will be enabled for, permissions, project dependencies, dev environments, and then we go into the app settings. So authentication, very important, especially when we're going to be publishing to the App Store, push notifications, mobile deployment. This is really crucial, especially if you're going to be going to the App Store or the Google Play Store. This is sometimes very laborious. This takes a lot of effort. There's a lot of trial and error, but watching the tutorials and the documentation, it will help you. And depending on the type of application, if you're accepting payments, all of those things, it will be very detailed on what you need to do for the submission process, especially with the App Store for iOS. Web deployment, this is helpful, especially if you're going to first go web first and then do the submission for mobile, and that's what we suggest. And then publish as a library. The next part is in-app purchases. So if you're going to be taking payments, there are several different ways to do this with Stripe, with Revenue, Cat, Braintree. There's so many different styles depending on what works for your use case and where you are in the world of what kind of payment processor or integrations you want to use. That's something to consider as well, and Razorpay. And then also, if we look at integrations, we mentioned different things you could do for your backend. We have it for Supabase, SQLite, GitHub. You have so many different things here, depending on what you're trying to do for your app, including AdMob. So if you're going to be adding an element where you can show advertisements in your app, you can do that as well with FlutterFlow. And also, if you're going to do live streaming, you can have that as well. That's a lot. That's a lot on the back end. So what I would really encourage you to do is first write down, what are you trying to create? Where are you? And then that allows you to think about, what do you need to focus on when you're using FlutterFlow? There are so many different things that you can be doing with this application. It's really easy to feel overwhelmed. So it's important to first write down, what are you looking to do? Now, the next thing that we're going to be looking at is looking at some of the features to get you moving even quicker. And what do I mean by that? There are two different things that I would look at. Number one, as we go to, here we go, access FlutterFlow AI Tools. Now, this will allow us to have a couple different things. We can go to new page creation, new component creation, sketch to component, and then page autocomplete. There are so many different things that you can be doing with this. Before you do that, it's important to just know the basics. Just try it out. Try different adding widgets, understanding how it's formed before you go to this, just so you understand the basic structure before you're using these AI tools. But to move even faster, we're going to try a couple of these things out and then explore what you could be doing. For example, if we go to new page creation, we can now enter a prompt and go through a page that we want. So we can say homepage for a marketplace. If we click that, now it's going to be generating a page. We're going to be seeing this. And right now we see 5 of 5 page generations left. So we have a limited amount that we can use right now. And remember, this page generator, it's in beta. So that's something to keep in mind as well. It's always looking to get better, but we can utilize some of these features right now. So we're going to wait for it to start building this out for us, and we're going to look at it. Okay, so right here we have a page that's wanting me to use, right? So it shows us, welcome back, Alex. I can decide, number one, if it's going to be in dark mode or not. I can also decide on the color palettes that I want to use. I can also go here and generate a different color palette if I want to. I can decide if I want to use this or not by clicking. I can accept it, insert the page, or have it to do it again. And then also, too, I can view the code of how it's structured right there as well. Very useful. So let's refresh it for a second. Okay. So a little bit different icon. Basic design. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. And I'm going to insert the page. Now I'm going to call it Marketplace Homepage. Description, I'm just going to say testing new homepage. And it also says, do you want to update the entire project theme? For right now, I'm going to say no. Page rating, please give us a rating. I'm going to say 4. Okay, thank you for your feedback. I insert the page. I think I already did. Let's go back. So right here, we have a name for it. We have a description. Insert the page. Let's see. Okay. So here, it made the home page for me, right? So we have several different sections here. And we're in the build section, but let's check out the widget tree. And then see here, we're on, so we have marketplace, the marketplace page right here. And because I clicked on it twice, most likely it just made the page again. So I could delete the other one if I wanted to. But right here, let's see how it's broken down, right? So the marketplace page, it's the full thing right here, column. I can see how it's structured, the container. And this really helps me to decide or think about how I would be designing the page too. And that's what I like about these AI generated pages. Maybe I feel overwhelmed of how am I even going to stack or create the pages that I need. It will already construct it, and then I can reverse engineer, think about how I would do it myself, or just duplicate the page it created for me as a template for the next page that I'll make. So right here, we have a section where it's welcome back, Alex. Then we have the next column where it says categories, and it has a container, and I can see how it's structuring the different categories and everything like that. So that allows me to, again, see the different pages. If I go to storyboard here, I can zoom out, and you're seeing I don't have anything connected yet, right? Zoom out. So here, see if I want to connect it. And so if we're looking here, it allows us to, again, make some edits if we want to. And also at the top, it's good to notice how we're in mobile version. We can see what it looks like for tablet and then desktop. So depending on what's happening, I can change what it would look like on the different screen sizes. But say, for instance, if I go to the icon here on the right-hand side, now I can get more details of what I want to do with it. I can change the icon size, the icon itself. I can change it if I want to. Let's see if I'm just going to change it to 1, 2, 3. You see how it changes right there, the icon. I can also change the icon colors if I want to. Let's say if I want it to be primary. And so we see that it changes right there. But now, not only can we edit what the icon is, but if we look at what we have as options as well, this is what we're saying, start from left to right. Now we get more details of what we can do with that one icon. For example, we can go into action. So when you're clicking on the icon, maybe we want something to happen. Well, we can add an action if someone clicks on that icon. Also, we get different information if we're going to do something with a backend query. So if we're going to have something happen or associated with the database or something happening with information on the back end. We can also see right here on page load, what do we want the animation to be, those kind of things. And then also documentation. This is crucial because say, for instance, you're building the app, but you're working with a team and you have very specific instructions or you want the team to know something about that icon, you can have it here too. Again, this allows your team to have a better workflow with building these applications and these experiences by having documentation right there for everyone to know. And, it could be 8 months from now, there might be other people on the team or the team has expanded. They need to know about certain details. You can have all of that detailed in all of the different elements that are found here, different widgets, all of those things can be cataloged by having great documentation right here. I love that feature. So say, for instance, let's go to the actions right here. We can say open, so the action flow editor. And then we can decide what is going to happen when someone interacts with that. So we can say on tap, on double tap, on long press. So there are so many different options to really customize when people are pressing that icon, what's going to happen. We'll say on tap, and then on tap, what's going to happen? Add an action. So what will the action be? Well, it can be navigate to, so you can navigate to the home page, something like that. Or you can have even more advanced actions. You can have other actions, conditions, loops, all of those different things, all associated with that one action that someone's having. Along with that, we see here project issues. If you're adding different actions, if you're doing different things, we'll have this section right here where you can get warnings or errors when you're building out. What do you need to address for this to work properly? We have that at an action level, but also here we have that on a project or an application level as well. So this really helps you to reverse engineer and find out what's going right, what's going wrong with your project as you're building out your application. And if you feel overwhelmed with this and you feel like, I just don't know where to begin, we also have low-code engineers. This is a program that I'm associated with, full transparency, because I found that there was a need for ones that needed help with building their applications or something with their project, and they needed engineers to do this. They needed experts. And I can't work with everybody, but I am super pumped with low-code engineers where we have found the best in the world that know how to use the application you're using, know how to solve your problem, and they work with you. Imagine it being like done with you service. It's a Zoom call where they go and have remote control of your screen. They work with you to get your problem solved. It's a great, great program. If you want more information, there's a link down below. So when you're getting started with FlutterFlow, it's really important to first determine what are you trying to work on? Where are you in your process? Is it an idea? Are you already recreating another application using FlutterFlow? Those are all things to write down before you start deep diving in all of these different aspects of FlutterFlow. So we went into new page creation. We can also see new component creation. Now that's really important if you're trying to create something that you're going to be using over and over again in the application. That's really huge. But also you have sketch to component. Now this is really cool because you can click here to upload an image, and that will help you with sketching to the component you need. Or it says sketch to component right here. You can also just draw out what you need to do, and it will create it for you as well. So again, depending if you're an artist, you can either sketch or you can use these different elements right here to create what you're trying to do. Say, for instance, let me have that right there. And we're going to, oh, look, it even allows you to change the color based on your theme. Now, let's say, let me clear the board again. Let's try to make this a little bit cleaner. We have that. And then we're going to just have 3 or 2 little buttons here like that. Let's save it. Let's generate component. See what it does. Okay, so it's generating the component right here. Okay, it says component generated successfully. Let's preview it. Okay, so it probably did a little bit. It did a lot better than mine, right? So we're just seeing what it made. Let's insert component. We'll just say test. We'll give it a 3. So right here, now it made this right here. Let's go and take a look at where our components are. So this is the project components, testing, and now we have this section that can be reused over and over again. That's really important to have. And again, the more detailed that you're going to be, the better. But now this is something that you can reuse over and over again. You might be saying, Doc, I would never use that. That's okay. You can go ahead and try it out for yourself and create your own component. Look at what that looks like. The next one is, let's look at page autocomplete. Autocomplete is only available on pages. Let's switch over to a page. Let's go over here for a moment. Let me switch over. Home page. Let's go to autocomplete. Now it says describe what you want to add. Let's say I want to add a hero section to showcase categories. Let's see what it does. Okay, so we have that. Autocomplete. So it's auto-completing the page. Let's see what it does. We see the autocomplete is an alpha. So this is one of the brand new features. That says failed to autocomplete this page. Okay. We're going to try it one more time. And maybe I need to change how I describe it or what I'm looking for. But again, okay. So I want to have a hero section to showcase categories. Okay. It says apply all suggestions. It says less, more. That's pretty interesting. So as we have this, apply all suggestions, I'm going to say accept. And then we have that. Very interesting. Also, when we click the widget tree right there, we can see the image. So we can see the column right there. We can see the container, the stack, and then that is right there. I'm gonna give it a 5-star right there. So a lot of these features are made to help you build even faster. A lot of them are brand new. So when you're watching this, they might have already some things that have changed. Also to consider some of the limitations when you're creating a new page or when you're thinking about some of these AI tools. The more specific you can be where you're telling it you need a column, a container, or things like that, using the vocabulary that the platform already knows will allow you to have a better experience. Now, how you're going to get better at that is knowing the basics of the elements, the different components, how things are created. The more that you can construct in that way, the better experience you're going to have. So just keep that in mind. If you're just getting started, remember, describe it the best way you can, but the more familiar you're with some of the terms, the better outcome you're going to have with some of these AI generation that you're going to be having. But remember, start with a plan, write down what you're looking for, what do you need for your project, and then go from there. There are so many new things that are being added by FlutterFlow's team every single month. It's really important that you look at the new updates, what they're releasing, and try it out. And if you're afraid to make mistakes, remember, you can always duplicate the project. If you go to Home, and then with your new application, you can always duplicate the project and have different versions. That way, if you do a lot of experimenting and you feel like, oh man, now I broke my app. If you duplicate it and then do different variations, that helps me. But of course, you can always look at the version control as well. So you can always save what's going on. You have versions and then you have snapshots as well. And your snapshots is going to let you revert back to what happened throughout as you're building out your application. So there are many different ways. Don't feel, take a deep breath and you'll be able to work through this. Now, after you're done with trying out these different things, you can do a couple different things right here. You can test your application. You could run FlutterFlow local run, so that way you can test out your application and all those different things. But test it out, make sure that it's working for you. And if you're finding errors, remember, work through what errors are you getting, and that will help you to stay on track and to decrease the amount of overwhelm that you're having with FlutterFlow. This is a great platform, but remember, this is going to take a little bit of time because it's a steeper learning curve with FlutterFlow. There's a lot of great things that you can do, but if you're coming from another platform such as maybe Softr or Glide, there are a lot of different variations that you can do. It's very powerful. So there's just so much you can do with FlutterFlow. So if this can feel overwhelming, take a deep breath and start planning out what you want to do with this platform. If you want us to do more advanced videos about FlutterFlow, let me know in the comment section down below. If you want us to do an intermediate or a more advanced training session, we can do that. But please let us know if you like videos like this and you want us to talk about FlutterFlow, or if you want us to do more about like text to app videos and we're talking about things like data button and others. Let us know. And if you like these kind of videos, make sure that you like and subscribe. We do this every single week, and I'll see you in the next video.